In the distant year of 2013, a squirrel died. Therefore, I'm going to Magfest. According to Matt Stone and Trey Parker, creators of the polarizing cartoon South Park, one of the greatest laws of writing good stories is, but, therefore, as in, thing happened, but, other thing happened, therefore, third thing happened. It helps keep your narrative feeling like it's progressing, and keeps all your events tied together instead of feeling like a series of disconnected, random scenes. For example, in the distant year of 2013, a squirrel died. Therefore, I never got to give my undergraduate research presentation. For my final year in college, I gamed the system a bit to create my own class. With the help of a faculty advisor, I crafted an independent studies course for the purpose of dissecting a video game as a piece of literature. That specific paper was on BioShock Infinite, and the role that water plays, both literal and figurative. To this date, it is my only published work. But the night before, a squirrel managed to squirrel its way into the circuit breaker of the local power station, creating a short circuit through its adorable little body and, well, you can guess the rest. Therefore, the electrical grid for my entire local piece of town was shut down, and the power for the college was still off during the pre-purported undergraduate research presentation day. Therefore, none of us got to give our presentations. But, in the weeks prior, with no knowledge of future events and the lack of luck of the local rodent population, I had a second part to my presentation's plan. Why defend the literary merit of only a single game when I could gather data and defend them all? And so, cleverly conniving a cache of cash from our college, I traveled to what would become my favorite convention of all time, the Escapist Expo. Don't bother looking it up, it doesn't exist anymore. The Escapist Expo was a wild experience, most notable for these three major reasons. Reason 1. It was the first year I debuted my Mark I Skyrim Dragon Priest costume, made completely with Ava phone, back before my sad college kid budget could afford Warbler. Reason 2. There was a limitless amount of Red Bull. Now I need you to understand, I do not mean I bought a lot of Red Bull. I mean, Red Bull had a table, and they gave that shit out for free. For everyone. Forever. There were coolers stacked with cans. There were Red Bull girls who would wander the con complete with Red Bull backpacks overflowing with the stuff. It quite possibly took years off my life from drowning in it. I only partially regret it. But the final reason that the Escapist Expo experience was eternally effervescent was the reason I went in the first place. Despite my crippling social anxiety, I went to interview gamers. For my presentation, aside from a simple research paper, I wanted reliable data and anecdotal evidence to prove that video games mattered. I wanted to show how gamers' lives were changed by the games they played. So I workshopped a single question to ask random con-goers, one that would succinctly reinforce my thesis, and after a bit of time, I had it. At the Escapist Expo in 2013, I asked 50 gamers, what was the most emotional moment you ever experienced in a video game? Through this simple question, I experienced some of the strangest conversations of my life, during which more than a few strangers cried in my general direction with wide smiles spread across their faces. I also met a pair of Dark Souls cosplayers who could not tell me what they did for a living because they worked for the Department of Defense. It was, quite honestly, one of the highlights of my life. But that goddamn squirrel. It has been over a decade since I last interviewed anyone. A decade is a long time for anything, but especially for the world of video games. Imagine every emotional moment that game designers have crafted in the past 10 years. I think my research deserves an update. Therefore, squirrels willing, I'm going to Magfest.